Today we're going to be ranking 24 more books that are popular in the self-improvement sphere. Let's get into it. First, we have Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. What makes this book stand out instantly is its focus on keeping your ego in check and recognizing when our own pride and self-importance might be holding us back. It seems to go against many other self-improvement rhetoric, which is what makes it so interesting. You learn that you are often your own worst enemy, and you have to look internally to overcome issues. Learning this is key to any meaningful long-term self-improvement, and this is one of the very best books to help you get there. So this is going in S tier. This tier is for the must-reads. These are books that can drastically change your life in multiple areas. Next, we have Start with Why by Simon Sinek. This book teaches you how to become a great leader, emphasizing the importance of risk-taking and going against the status quo, using inspiration versus manipulation. But its most important central message is that the why should always come first in whatever you do. People need to feel inspired and have a sense of purpose to really know why they're doing what they're doing. The book will help you find your own why and guide you to feeling fulfillment with your own path, in turn helping you successfully inspire and lead others. This belongs solidly in the A tier. The A tier is for great books that can really help solve specific problems. Moving on, we have Siddhartha by Herman Jess. It's a pretty old text, but it's still relevant and widely discussed today. Following the journey of the titular character, the book focuses on teaching the importance of self-discovery and viewing life events as part of the bigger picture. Something that seems negative at the time is still building you as a person. Individual events are meaningless when considered by themselves, but in the long run, we are a product of every experience we have, and each of these events shapes our understanding of the world. It's a good message, but also one that is covered a lot by other titles. And the fictional style might not be for everyone, so this goes in the B tier. This tier depicts okay books that aren't the best version of the narrative they're trying to sell. Another fictional title now, we have The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This one can be quite controversial, with some people saying it's a great story to illustrate the point of focusing on the journey of your life and reaching your goals rather than just the destination, and others saying it's too abstract and roundabout in the story it's trying to tell. Essentially, there are way better books out there to give you the same message without all the fantasy novel padding, so this one could go in the C tier for now. This tier is for books that aren't going to be remarkably helpful and just aren't worth recommending. Next, we have The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. The book explores ways your happiness can be shaped by internal and external forces, and through 10 chapters sets out clear points on how happiness can be reached. The book helps you develop your strengths and realize your true potential, empowering you to create your own happiness. It's a fascinating read, with suggestions you can implement easily and really helps with understanding your own feelings and sense of purpose. This is an S-tier read. Now we have The Hero with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell. This one is a bit different from the rest because it's not a cut-and-dry self-help title. Instead, it analyzes the hero archetypes from mythology in a way that can help you understand how these traits and ideas reflect on all of us as humans. It's based on research and writings of renowned psychological practitioners like Jung and Freud, and in the decades since its release has been hugely influential across multiple fields of study. By understanding the hero archetype, you can understand how to fit that into your own growth narrative, helping inspire you to battle past your own limitations. This is a super interesting read and belongs in the A tier. Onto The Art of Extraordinary Confidence by Aziz Gazipura. Essentially, the book encourages you to take risks and embrace discomfort, suggesting that true confidence comes from a willingness to do whatever may be necessary to succeed. It explores the idea of power questions, includes stories and activities for the reader, and keeps a fairly light tread throughout. There's been some criticism that the book places too much of an emphasis on what some would deem to be people-pleasing behaviors. Not everyone will agree, but regardless, this one can even out on B tier. Next is The 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. This is another controversial one because some people swear by it, embracing the book's warfare-based approach and the strategies and key personality traits one must develop to excel in life and conflict. The downside to this is that its framing all of life as war is essentially unhelpful. It's not healthy to view every aspect of life as a war or hardship. Viewing every obstacle and event in your life through the lens of conflict and violence is not helpful when you're trying to ground yourself and seek reasonable solutions. And most other self-improvement experts would never encourage viewing each obstacle as a personal attack. So for this reason, this is going in the C tier. Next is How to Be Human by Ruby Wax. An important part of any self-improvement journey is to understand yourself and how your brain works. and this is just the book for that. With contributions from both a monk and a neuroscientist, this book addresses the truth behind the workings of our minds, encouraging you to treat yourself with compassion. The book aims to enable you to take control of your mental state and cope better with difficult situations. Understanding your own feelings can help you unlock your highest potential, so this book is going in A tier. If you like the sound of these books so far but have a never-ending list to read, then the sponsor of today's video, Blinkist, may be perfect for you. Blinkist is a platform that will help you expand your knowledge and speed up your personal growth. They provide insights from a curated selection of over 6,500 nonfiction bestsellers spanning across 27 diverse categories. Each title is distilled into concise, 15-minute snippets, available in both readable and audible formats. With Blinkist, you can absorb the wisdom of an entire book without having to spend hours and hours of your valuable time. We were able to quickly learn a lot about many interesting topics from great books, such as How Will You Measure Your Life by Clayton M. Christensen, which is the next entry in our tier list and is also featured on Blinkist. Contrary to so many other books on this list, this book emphasizes the importance of nurturing your interpersonal relationships above all else, including your career. The idea of success in this society is deeply linked with visions of money and power, but the central message of this book is to see beyond these shallow ideals to what really matters most. Your biggest source of happiness will always be your relationships and your principles, and this book encourages you to manage your time and money as resources to keep a balanced and happy life, all the while seeing your perceived failures as learning curves. It's a fantastic and very humbling read, so it belongs in the S tier. Blinkist has a brand new feature called Blinkist Spaces. This feature allows you to create a space with friends or family where you can recommend titles to each other. All members of a shared space can access all titles in the space, with or without a Blinkist Premium subscription. You could start your 7-day free trial and get 25% off Blinkist Premium by clicking on the link in the description box below. Thanks, Blinkist, for sponsoring this video. Now, on to our next book. Timothy Ferriss's Tools of Titans. You may recognize his name if you're a fan of the 4-Hour Workweek. The contents of this title were informed by interviews he conducted with nearly 200 successful individuals, ranging from top-caliber athletes to movie stars. Analyzing the contents of these interviews, Ferriss put together a collection of tools and tactics that these successful people all shared. With this information, readers can implement the same habits and practices that help these established names reach their level of acclaim. It may be difficult for some readers to relate to big names when at the start of their self-improvement journey, perhaps becoming overwhelmed with all the distance they have to cover before becoming the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, but undeniably, the data in the book is important. For this reason, this is going in the A tier. Next is Fanatical Prospecting. It's a bit similar to the previous title in that it examines the routes of successful people and encourages readers to follow them, but it's far less engaging and lacks the same depth in some respects. The book lays out 7 mindsets containing traits that you should strive for, but most of the advice will be most useful if you work in sales. In terms of general self-improvement, this title just isn't as useful as others that offer similar advice. Some may disagree, but this is going in C tier. A huge title now, we have Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. This title has been in print non-stop ever since the 1960s, and avid readers of the self-improvement genre will often identify it as almost the grandfather of lots of newer texts. The book encourages you to engage in positive visualization, arguing that our real successes can never exceed the success that we imagine for ourselves. Your self-image is key to the realization of your best self, and the book helps to encourage a change in mindset that unlocks your best potential. It's a hugely influential book, and a must-read for anyone who seriously wants to change the way they see themselves and advance their self-improvement journey. It's going in the S tier. Next, we have Influence by Robert Cialdini. In a lot of ways, it's similar to How to Win Friends and Influence People, but some readers have argued that it goes into more depth. This book could be argued to be slightly out of date in some ways, but generally, it's still full of helpful information for anyone who is starting their self-improvement journey. It's backed by science and does a good job of explaining how the tips work, so it will go in A tier. Next up is The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. This is a fiction book, but the story is based on Sharma's experience of leaving his high-flying career to seek a more authentic life. Though fictional, the book hits on a number of important ideas which encourages mindfulness and self-reflection, as well as the importance of seeing every obstacle as an opportunity for growth. These are good ideas, but they're covered by a lot of other titles which offer more at the same time, so this belongs in B tier. This next one could cause a stir. The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. There are plenty of people who swear by this book as being what changed their whole view on their lives following traumatic events, as it offers a number of approaches to healing from trauma and reevaluating your outlook on your struggles. The problem comes from some of the pseudoscientific approaches Vanderkolk relies on, and from his tendency to compare forms of trauma against each other. Some readers have claimed the book is only helpful to those suffering with very specific kinds of trauma, and so it's not as widely applicable and helpful as many other titles on this list. For this reason, it's going in C tier. If you've read this book, let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Okay, moving on. Next up is Daily Laws by Robert Greene. Greene is a huge name in self-improvement, and in the last video, his book, The 48 Laws of Power, made it into the S tier. Daily Laws is a consolidation of Greene's works, offering helpful advice on seeing through the power games that people play, shaping your own image, and seeing life in an objective way. Because it is a blend of several works, it is less direct and targeted as a whole, and so ranks just a little lower than 48 Laws. This puts it in A tier. Next is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. The author summarizes it as a book on the power and right application of thought, and that is pretty accurate. It argues how your whole life is shaped by your thought patterns, your self-reflection, and your mental approaches to things. It was published back in 1903, so it's a bit dated and can be very wordy at times, but if you're willing to put the effort into reading it with intention, then it's full of powerful quotes. It's not the most approachable title to cover these topics, but you can definitely still get something out of it if you want to. It's going in B tier. Now up is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. The weird format of this book can instantly put some people off because it's structured as if you're reading a question and answer conversation. This can be interesting for some people, but for most who are used to a more traditional style of self-improvement text, this is pretty jarring. Some of the claims it makes are super outdated and unhelpful in the modern day, and the delivery of advice can be overcomplicated. There are far better books out there to learn the same lessons from, so this goes in C tier. Next is The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Originally written in the context of martial arts, this book has a really clear and helpful message. The most important takeaway is the focus on reaching one's goal in the most efficient and focused way possible, eliminating all unnecessary extras. It's about cutting work down to the bare essentials to get from A to B, whilst eliminating all unnecessary risk to oneself. It's a bold approach to take to tackling your goals and intentions, and the benefits of this approach speak for themselves. This belongs in A tier. Now we have Never Split the Difference by Christopher Voss. This book will be most beneficial to you if you want to improve your negotiation skills, or more broadly, your influence and conflict resolution. A key message is that one of the most important factors in interpersonal relations is empathy, as it's the key to unlocking meaningful connections with whomever you're dealing with. The book's teachings can be taken more broadly to help with improving your social skills and understanding other people. But there are other books that offer more varied and in-depth advice on this topic, so this is going in A tier. On to The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. The main message of this book is to use visualization to guide you toward what you want. Whilst this idea is rooted in certain real scientific ideas and can link back to important things like self-esteem and positive mindsets, it can often come across more like pseudoscience. There are plenty more books out there to give you better advice on how your goals and mindset can guide you to success with more practical advice and understanding. This one is going in C tier. We're revisiting war texts now with The Art of War by Sun Tzu. The huge difference between this and other conflict-based books like Robert Greene's 33 Strategies of War is that this is an old, authentic military text that has been analyzed and learned from for centuries. It's a fascinating read, not just because of its historical context, but also because so much of this old knowledge can be repurposed today. It's able to teach you valuable things about how humans have historically strategized and optimized their work, not just in the context of war, but also in leadership. If you make sure not to take it literally and fall into the trap mentioned before of seeing your whole life as a battleground, you can really learn a lot from reading this. It's going in S tier. Now on to The New Psychology of Success by Carol S. Dweck. This author was the first to introduce the idea of the growth mindset, an essential concept for anyone wanting to start their self-improvement journey. In this book, she encourages you to maintain a constructive outlook on life, where you're constantly readjusting your expectations and beliefs to aid your personal growth, allowing you to overcome struggles and obstacles and build self-esteem. The goal in the long term is to become a resilient person who navigates the world's troubles with ease. The book is full of important and helpful advice, but it can get quite repetitive once the initial points are made. Because of this, it's going in B tier. And that's it for now. Write in the comments down below which of these books you've read and what you think of them. Did you disagree with any of the placements? What books would you have included? We've already gone over 35 other books in the previous video, so if you want to watch that and hear the reasons behind their placements, then you can watch that video here. In the meantime, stay tuned for more self-improvement content.